An answered path, penetrating and perfect Dharma, is rarely met with, even in 100,000 million kalpas. Having it to see and listen to remember and accept, I vow to taste the truth of the Tathagata's words. Is this recording?
Yep.
Better not turn it off then, huh? Good evening, friends. Our women ancestors, known and unknown, that's really falling right into what I would love to talk about tonight. We're continuing our conversation about our feminine Buddhist ancestors. And because of that, I will again stray from the traditional transmission of the lamp or transmission of light, which describes our male ancestors in great detail. I turned to the poems of the elder nuns, the Therigatha. The Therigatha were our poem collection from men and women who lived in the time of the Buddha. And the nuns, their collection is called Therigatha, and the collection of the monks is called Theragatha. They lived over 2,500 years ago, yet their experiences and their teaching are as relevant today as they were then. In our own lives, we encounter challenges, attachments, and the relentless cycle of desire and suffering. We may not have exactly the same circumstances as the nuns, but their path of awakening still speaks to our hearts. We will tonight hear about two women, Amapali and Kisa Gotami. There is a universality in their teaching. Whether we are lay people or monastics, no matter what the gender, we all face the same existential questions. Who am I? Why do I suffer? Why does this hurt so much? How can I be free? The answers that the nuns offer are not abstract or theoretical. They are real lived experience. They invite us to practice with sincerity, to reflect on our attachments, and to cultivate wisdom through mindfulness and insight. In our modern busy lives, we can sometimes feel overwhelmed by life, by our wants, our desires, by things going wrong. But just as these nuns faced similar struggles and overcame them through sustained effort and practice, we too can follow their example. Whether it is through meditation or studying the Dharma or engaging in acts of compassion, the way forward is clear. The stories of these elder nuns are an invitation to practice without hesitation. They did not wait for the perfect conditions to begin their practice. They were ordinary women in most cases, facing the challenges and difficulties of life. Yet they did not let those challenges define them. They didn't let their past hold them back. They embraced the teachings of the Buddha, and through them, they transcended the suffering that plagued them and all sentient beings. The Therigatha encourages us to reflect on our own attachments, to look deeply into the impermanence of things, and to see that true liberation is not found in external circumstances, but in the inner transformation of wisdom and letting go. I would like to start with the story of Amapali. When Manudev, the king of Vesali, saw Amapali perform a dance, he admired her so much that he declared Amapali as a bride of Vesali and a court dancer. Due to her extraordinary beauty, Amapali became a Nagarvadu, a courtesan, a role that was both respected and controversial in ancient Indian society. As the most sought-after courtesan in Vesali, she was admired by kings, nobles, and wealthy merchants. She did have the right to choose her lovers as the bride of Vesali. However, she was not allowed to marry and to commit to one person and one family. Her talent and beauty attracted so many that the glory of Vesali during this period is often attributed to Amapali's fame. She amassed great wealth and influence, living a life of luxury. The price to meet with Amapali was so high that her treasury exceeded that of many kings. It is quite remarkable that this beautiful woman became the Buddha's follower. Despite her external success, Amapali must have felt a sense of emptiness and dissatisfaction. The fleeting nature of pleasure and the superficiality of her life must have weighed on her. The following is an excerpt from the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, the last days of the Buddha. So the events I'm going to read about happened towards the end of the Buddha's life. So I'm setting the scene. Amapali heard that the Buddha was in Vesali. So, and he was staying at her grove. That's a place the Buddha often used when he was in Vesali. He and the monks lived there, basically. So she had the best carriages made ready and drove from Vesali to her park. She drove as far as the ground would allow, then alighted and went on foot to where the Lord was. She saluted the Lord and sat down to one side, and as she sat, the Lord instructed, inspired, fired, and delighted her with a talk on Dharma. And being thus delighted, Amapali said, "Lord, may the Lord consent to take a meal from me tomorrow with his order of monks." The Lord consented it by silence, and Amapali, understanding his acceptance, rose from her seat, saluted the Lord, and passing him by to the right, departed. I'm going to abbreviate the next passage, though it's a lot of fun. So as she is taking off back to her house, the noblemen of the Lichavi tribe came the other direction. And she must have had like this kind of comeuppance aura. And they're saying, "Why are you driving up against us like this?" And she says, "Because, young sirs, the Blessed Lord has been invited by me for a meal with his order of monks." The noblemen shout at her, and they shout, "Amapali, give up this meal for 100,000 pieces of gold." And she replies, "Young sirs, if you were to give me all Vesali with its revenues, I would not give up such an important meal. And the Lichavis snapped their fingers. That probably means they were kind of upset. And they said, "We have been beaten by a mango woman." That was probably somewhat derogatory. "We've been cheated by the mango woman." And they set out for Ambapali's grove to meet with the Buddha too. And then they pretend that they hadn't met Ambapali. And they say, "Lord, may the Lord consent to take a meal from us tomorrow with his order of monks." And the Buddha replies, "But Lichavis, I have already accepted a meal for tomorrow from the courtesan Ambapali." And the Lichavis snapped their fingers, saying, "We've been beaten by the mango woman, we've been cheated by the mango woman." And they said, "Why are you taking her offer? She's a courtesan and we're the lords." And the Buddha says, "Because she was there first." This is one of the stories that give me great delight. At the end of the meal, by the way, she offered the Buddha and his order that entire park and grove as a gift. It was Ambapali's grove. And soon after this, she renounced her position as a courtesan and court dancer and accepted the Buddhist way and remained an active supporter of the Buddhist Sangha. She also dedicated her life to service of the poor. So this is her contribution in the Therigatha. Black was my hair, the color of bees, and curled at the tips. With age, it looked like coarse hemp. The truth of the true speaker's words does not change. Fragrant like a perfumed basket filled with flowers, with age it smelled musty like animal fur. The truth of the true speaker's words doesn't change. Thick and lush like a well-tended grove made splendid, the tips elaborate with comb and pin. The truth of the true speaker's words does not change. Adorned with gold and delicate pins, it was splendid, ornamented with braids. Now, with age, the head has gone bald. The truth of the true speaker's words doesn't change. Curved, as if well drawn by an artist, my brows were once splendid. With age, they droop down in folds. The truth of the true speaker's words doesn't change. Radiant, brilliant like jewels, my eyes. With age, they are no longer splendid. The truth of the true speaker's words doesn't change. Like a delicate peak, my nose was splendid in the prime of my youth. With age, it's like a long pepper. The truth of the true speaker's words doesn't change. Like bracelets, well-fashioned, well-finished, my ears were once splendid. With age, they droop down in folds. The truth of the true speaker's words doesn't change. Like plantain buds in their color, my teeth were once splendid. With age, they are broken and yellowed. The truth of the true speaker's words does not change. Like that of a cuckoo in the dense jungle, flitting through deep forest thickets, sweet was the tone of my voice. With age, it cracks here and there. The truth of the truth speaker's words doesn't change. Smooth like a conch shell, well polished, my neck was once splendid. With age, it's broken down, bent. The truth of the truth speaker's words doesn't change. Like rounded door bars, both of them, my arms were once splendid. With age, they're like dried up patali trees. The truth of the truth speaker's words doesn't change. Adorned with gold and delicate rings, my hands were once splendid. With age, they are like onions and tubers. The truth of the truth speaker's words doesn't change. Swelling, round, firm, and high, both my breasts were once splendid. In the drought of old age, they dangle like empty old water bags. The truth of the truth speaker's words doesn't change. Like a sheet of gold, well burnished, my body was splendid. Now it's covered with very fine wrinkles. The truth of the truth speaker's words doesn't change. Smooth in their lines, like an elephant's trunk, both my thighs were once splendid. With age, they're like knotted bamboo. The truth of the truth speaker's words doesn't change. Adorned with gold and delicate anklets, my calves were once splendid. With age, they are like sesame sticks. The truth of the truth speaker's words doesn't change. As if they were stuffed with soft cotton, both my feet were once splendid. With age, they are shriveled and cracked. The truth of the truth speaker's words does not change. Such was this physical heap. Now, a house with its plaster all fallen off. The truth of the truth speaker's words doesn't change. I'll just repeat that last stanza. Such was this physical heap. Now, a house with its plaster all fallen off. The truth of the truth speaker's words doesn't change. The next story is the story of Kisa Gotami. Kisa Gotami's story is one of deep sorrow and profound awakening. Kisa Gotami was a young woman from a healthy family who was married to a man from Shravasti. She was very happy when they had a child, and she really loved that boy. However, the baby fell ill and died. Overcome with grief and unable to accept the death of her child, Kisa Gotami refused to let go of the body. In her despair, she carried the dead body of her child, with her wherever she went, and she asked help from everyone around her. But no one could help, and no one could console her. Her sorrow was so great that she lost her mind. Finally, someone advised her to seek out the Buddha, who was known for his wisdom and ability to alleviate suffering. In her state of deep sorrow, Kisa Gotami went to the Buddha holding her dead child. She asked him for a remedy. The Buddha, seeing her pain, told her, yes, I can help, but only if she could bring him a mustard seed from a household that had not experienced death. A mustard seed is like this tiny little insignificant thing. Everybody had it in their house. Desperate, Kisa Gotami went from house to house, asking for a mustard seed. But everywhere she went, she encountered people who had lost someone close to them, whether it was a child, a spouse, a sibling, a friend. Everyone had experienced death. Kisa Gotami slowly realized that death was a universal part of life, touching everyone, regardless of wealth, status, or position in society. With this understanding, Kisa Gotami returned to the Buddha, where she acknowledged the impermanence of life and the inevitability of death. She let go of her child's body and, deeply moved by the Buddha's teaching, became one of his followers. Kisa Gotami renounced the world and entered the monastic life as a nun. Through her profound grief and the Buddha's teaching, Kisa Gotami's heart opened. She meditated deeply and gained wisdom and enlightenment. Kisa Gotami's story is often seen as a teaching on the impermanence of life and the importance of letting go. Her transformation from deep sorrow to spiritual wisdom is a powerful reminder that suffering can be a catalyst for growth and enlightenment. Kisa Gotami's journey highlights the Buddhist path of acceptance, understanding, and ultimate liberation from the cycle of suffering. Her story, especially the universality of death, resonates deeply with many followers of Buddhism to this day, encouraging us to understand that death is universal and loss is a part of life. This is the poem she left us. Sorry, need to find this. Having admirable friends has been praised by the sage with reference to the world. Associating with an admirable friend, even a fool becomes wise. People of integrity should be associated with. In that way, discernment grows. Associating with people of integrity, one would be released from all suffering and stress. Would know stress, the origination of stress, cessation and the Eightfold Path, the Four Noble Truths. Stressful, painful is the woman's state. So says the tamer of tameable people. Being a co-wife is painful. Some, on giving birth once, slit their throats. Others, of delicate constitution, take poison. In the midst of a breech birth, both mother and child suffer destruction. Going along, about to give birth, I saw my husband dead. Giving birth in the road, I hadn't reached my own home. 2 children deceased, my husband dead in the road, miserable me. My mother, father, and brother were burning on a single pyre. Your family, all gone, miserable, you've suffered great pain without measure. Your tears have flowed for many thousands of lives. Then I saw, in the midst of the charnel ground, the muscles of sons being chewed, his family killed, despised by all, my husband dead, I reached the deathless. I've developed this path, noble eightfold, going to the deathless. Having realized unbinding, I've gazed in the mirror of Dharma. I've cut out the arrow, put down the burden, done the task. I, Kisa Gotami Terry, my heart well released, have said this. that's the end of my Dharma talk. Thank you very much for listening. I would love if we could have a bit of a conversation. What came up for you? How did these women have a different life? How is it the same? How do we feel about these women saying the quiet parts out loud? I'm going to turn the laptop around so maybe the two people who are online can hear better.
Seems like in some ways their struggles were the same. You know, I'm not going to try to pronounce their names, but the first woman you spoke of meeting with those demeaning men. We still today navigate that those power plays, and then of course the second woman you spoke of, their names are so similar.
Kisa Gotami was the second one, and Ambapali was the first.
I'm very good at that.
1 and 2.
1 and 2. Anyway, of course, the universality of death, that being a part of life, is timeless. But I'll just add one thing about number 1. I mean, what came out in the story was the power play between, you know, the two genders represented, the men and her as a woman. But I mean, power differential, and it's expressed in society through so many differences, not just difference in genders, but races, socioeconomic. So it's like that still remains in so many ways expressed.
Thank you.
Yeah, Chris, the other thing with number 1 was the acquiring of great wealth and luxury, and how often that feels inadequate, especially as you get older. Although, sadly, it seems to me there's a pretty large segment of society that aspires to that as the answer. It seems like that's really flared up lately in America, if not around the world. You know, all the emphasis on wealth and the gap between the rich and the rest of us widening as the years go by. We haven't learned much in 2,500 years as a race.
I felt the pain in Kisagotami's poem. You could feel her words. You could almost see her expressing that, teary-eyed, maybe, the pain and suffering. And I also appreciated in the other on also learning that death is everybody. So you lose a child, you lose something very close to you, and you feel like it's you only, nobody in the whole world but me. Sorry, is feeling this right now. But I thought was a great lesson of go find a mustard seed in a house where nothing has happened, and you realize it's not just you.
And someone correct me if I say something wrong, but it's literally a part of working with grief to tell others about the pain one has and who and what one has lost. And by telling many people, it becomes more accepted by one, instead of this immediate impact. You know, you repeat your story, and then you hear the story of the people who also lost loved ones, and so I thought that was pretty amazingly done.
Yeah, I think that's a great story, number 2. Um, and as Chris said, when it's happening to you, you feel like you're the only one. And I think that's such a huge lesson of our Buddhist thought, is that it isn't just about us, but we really can think it is. And I remember being in a hard point at one time, and I was having a dokusan, and the person I was having the dokusan with suggested that the next time that came up, I say to myself, like many others, whatever, you know, and that's how she learned. She learned the interdependence, the interconnection.
To me personally, the first poem, Ambapali's, even though she lists all these specific items where she lost this conventional beauty, it doesn't feel sad at all to me. It just almost feels like a victory song, where she says,
I'm sorry, I think it's because of the refrain, you know, between each one. It's, you know, the wisdom is there no matter what. You know, we all fall apart, these things happen. But the wisdom remains throughout, in that the essence, the true essence is always there, even in the face of losing our bodies or whatever. And I think that's what you're talking about. That's how it feels like a victory poem to me.
thank you. Yeah, it feels like I was basically forced to become a concubine. That was my assigned lot. I didn't have another choice. And there's other stories of her life, really wild. But it's now she's just giving all this up and make me. Yes, Ted.
I think that in Kisakatami, in the mustard seed, although she was able to accept the death of her infant, the poem clearly showed she was still in pain, right? And so she was able to accept the pain, but the pain did not go away.
Yeah.
And I thought that was an important thing to pick up, because it's not it isn't the end of suffering in the sense that the suffering goes away. It's the end of suffering in the sense that you understand that that's just the way it is.
I remember when I first started to practice, I had no clue what I was doing, right? So I thought, if I get it, it doesn't hurt anymore. And yeah, enough said.
And so that story reminds me of the 5 remembrances. I can't rattle them off, but
I have a body that is growing old,
what
getting
is it? I
sick,
am of a nature to grow old.
Yeah. getting
There
sick.
is no way to escape growing old. I am of a nature to experience illness. There is no way to escape becoming ill. All that I love and value is of a nature to change. I can't remember what it is, but it ends up basically saying,
Yeah.
you know,
My deeds are the ground upon which I stand.
That's pretty good.
I have one comment about the mustard seed story. It seems to me very difficult, or more especially difficult for the mother to have the experience of losing their child. As what strikes me anyway is the mother and the child are the same being for so long. They're not really my child over here and me and the mother over there. That being is the same one. It's the same. And if the mother then loses the child, it seems to me some order of difficulty beyond what I, as a, you know, in a way standing off to the side as the father, would experience. I can't say that I really know that. I'm not saying that, but it just strikes me how really difficult it must be. Really beyond what I can imagine.
I actually
Yeah,
lost
I
my
think,
first, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's
Somebody else.
Mary.
So,
Mary.
for me, the stories of the two women ended up in exactly the same place. You know, even beyond accepting what is, accepting the loss of their physical attributes, of their physical abilities, losing so many to death and accepting it. There was also an element of total surrender for me in both of them. And in just surrendering is that feeling, I guess it's liberation, that really opens up the path to joy, kind of that, to just enter into a path of joy just because you're not carrying your desires with you.
I actually lost my first child when I was 6.5 months pregnant. I had a son. And you're right, that child is yours, you carry it. It's still a part of me. I still celebrate what would have been his birthday. It was extremely painful, and I kind of hid in a dark room for a long time. And my lovely daughter, who I have now, was born in the same month, a week after I'd lost my son.
Mm.
So she was quite a gift, and she still is to this day. But yeah, I still cherish what I lost.
Any more comments, or shall we close?
What about people on Zoom?
Two.
I wonder if they-
Oh,
I don't know.
I can say something if they can hear me.
We can hear you.
okay. Someone said they can hear you. Maybe be really loud. Can you
Okay.
turn up the volume?
Um,
I'll have Tim turn up the volume first.
1 second here.
Ariel, there was a little tag over the online people I couldn't see. Let's see.
okay.
All right.
Okay. The story of Kisa Gotami and a couple of the other ones of women who lost their children or their family members really moved me. I think that part of the reason that I have been, all of the most important things that have ever happened to me mostly have been because of my children. I felt like, I mean, I became a mom because I couldn't figure life out, and I figured I could do things for a child I couldn't do for myself. And I thought if I lost one of my children, I would die. I would explode and die. But what I have found through a really painful year with one of my kids going through profound transition, is that I lost my kids when they were, I mean, they're not, every day they change. When they get on the school bus, when they are grown up and push you away, everything that happens with my children like makes me aware of that, the necessity of surrendering to, like, my heart is already broken. That's part of love. And my sense of those women and what they shared is deepening every day. And as our Dharma friend Chidij told me, they were never my kids anyway. It's not really how it works. They're their own people. And it would hurt so bad, I don't know what I would do to lose them. And I will, right? Like, we lose each other. Everything I hold dear and everyone I love is of the nature to change. And change and death are not separate.
Thank you, Ariel.
I had a little thought.
Yeah.
Both the examples that you chose were aspects of women that they can't really avoid. The attractive beauty that they inherently have, and then the ability to give birth. And I think that's what is so different about, obviously, between the monks and the nuns, is the nuns actually really do have to surrender these sort of obstacles. I think that I don't know what it is for a monk, but it's really obvious what women have to give up in order to surrender that egoic place. You know, I can think about it differently. I can think that beauty is actually a spiritual gift that we all need. So it isn't just, you know, a contradiction to spirituality. But being a woman, I do feel that difference. And I appreciate that your willingness to bring it up to the surface.
Thank you, Elizabeth. May our intentions equally extend to every being and place with the true merit of Buddha's way. Beings are numberless, I vow to save them. Delusions are inexhaustible, I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless, I vow to enter them. Buddha's way is unsurpassable, I vow to become it. Chris.
John.
John. Raisela.
Hannah.
Mari.
Gabe.
Levy.
Jeff.
Elizabeth.
Oh, Mary.
Mary.
Chris.
David. Colin. Austin. Ken. Station.
Wayne.
Mike.
Joe.
Kate.
Judith.
Dave.
Michael.
People on Zoom.
He's on Zoom.
Ariel.
Hi, Ariel.
I don't know, someone who's knitting.
Oh, right, that's right.
Ray.
Right.
Hi, Ray. Yeah, I just wanted to say that historically Red Cedars then has been part of the Interfaith Coalition doing service work, and our connection with the coalition has resurged, and Wayne and I have been the liaisons of late. And anyway, they have a program called CAST, Coffee and Sandwiches Together. They serve every evening meals to the homeless. And so Red Cedar is forming a team. On the third Wednesday of each month, we'll deliver and serve meals to homeless people. If you would like to be on that team or volunteer in the CAST program, maybe on a different day making sandwiches or as a substitute serving, please email me or text me, and anybody's welcome.
Thank you. I also have an announcement. Due to the new building not being available for our sewing retreat, Mari has generously offered her house. So we will be meeting there, and an email will go out with address and further details. Thank you.
What are the times of each day?
And it'd be wonderful to think this weekend about you guys helping a lot. How many people are gonna start Ruxu? 10 people or something?
We have, including Mari and myself, it's, I think, 11 people.
Wow, wonderful. Thank you both.
Wow.
Full weekend.
What are the times each day?
I think we have something from 9 or 10 till 4. It's on the website.
Yeah, and we'll send out details because I have 8 chairs, so people will need to bring a chair. Or you can sit on the floor, which you're welcome to do because there is floor seating, but not everybody likes that. So,
Yeah, most of the people aren't here. so.
perfect. Yeah.
Okay,
And it was
well,
2.
let's
Okay, so.
take down the house.
So I went to say thank you because I was like, huh. Dad said that they're all
I thought I read that too, so I yeah, I don't know.
So it's not I'm good. How are you doing?
Where's the?
Who took the cushions from there?
Is it yours?
It's mine.